What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and today it gives me great pleasure to present the final design of Overhaul patch. We're technically at Overhaul patch 1.6 or something, but this is the final design. Everything past this is going to be number tweaking, and basically just your regular balance patch type stuff. What does this mean? Well, this means now I can start saying off to extended edition. We can put something up there on the Steam Workshop. If it's not in the YouTube description now, it will be in the YouTube description when it's done. I'll make a community post or something on YouTube to let you guys know when it's done. But I mean, without further ado, this is a long change log. I'm going to go through the whole thing. Get your popcorn, enjoy. But before that, let's talk about what Overhaul patch is, why I made it, and why it's kind of a pretty exciting thing. And I'm surprised that we haven't seen more of this over the years. So, Overhaul patch is a patch which aims to completely shake up how each of the gods is played, where their strengths lie, and simply put, just change the game to make it fresh. We've played the same sort of patch from 2002 all the way up to 2024. And if you were to go back to like 2002, the strategies, while maybe not as optimized, they're all kind of the same. Anyways, neither here nor there. Time to take a look at this patch. Been working on it since last November, so it's been a couple of months, and it does take a hot minute for these things to come up, to come together. So I'm excited to go through it now. There's so many changes. So overall, we'll come into this one right now. Overall, archaic attacking has been disabled. Now, this one is my own personal change. I'm not a fan of harassment in the archaic age, in the first age, with like 1-2 damage units. I think that it's simply just it's just abuse. There's no skill involved in it. There's no decision making involved in it. You go, oh, I can stop my opponent from scouting. I'm going to go and do that, and then I'll scout later while they don't get to do it. So there's a lot of problems with this in Age Mythology. If you look at Age of Empires 2, everyone gets their scout. They all got the same scout. So there's no problems with having that early game harassment. But in Age of Mythology, you know, you've got a Katoska boss, you've got a priest, you've got an Ulfsark, and you've got oracles. Each one of those units is different, and it's just an unfair advantage at the start of the game. Get rid of it. No worries. We can talk about it later. Next one, I think this is a no-brainer. Villagers no longer miss hunt. This is the worst random chance thing in a competitive game for the first, minute of the game. Like, you're just trying to hunt and your villager just goes, nah, I missed. Oh, okay, we hit it. Oh, half my villagers missed and the animal's starting to walk away from a perfectly positioned hunt. Great. Okay, so that one's fixed. Not really much need to talk about that much more. Crenellations. Now, this is a pretty big change. Crenellations no longer gives bonus damage versus cavalry. Why is this change in there? Well, crenellations basically means that you can only make cavalry up to a certain point. Once you get to the late game, cavalry stop being a unit that are trainable, which means that archers become too strong in the late game. There's no good counter for them. So the crenellations is still going to be able to hit those moving cavalry, still has that option, but now no bonus versus cavalry. So cavalry should be able to be used throughout the entirety of the game. So that should be a good thing. The next one is, as you advance through the ages, you're going to unlock 2 extra houses. So this is going to go up to a total of 14 houses, meaning a total of 200 population. Why not just unlock the houses and just say we got more population to play with at the start of the game? Well, basically, I thought that this was a perfect opportunity to boost some of the power of one town center teching, which I think that there's 3 types of strategies. There's 3 types of strategies you can go for in Age of Mythology. Strategy number 1 is booming, which is grabbing town centers, right? Strategy number 2 is some sort of rush which is obviously you can like do a Athena Rush or something. And then strategy number 3, you can go for a teching play, whether that be get yourself to the heroic age or get yourself some tech in the classical age and try and use that, like myth unit tech or something like that. So there's 3 types of plays. The first 2 are incredibly strong right now, and I think they work really well to like balance each other out. The third play, very, very rarely do we see these sorts of plays work. There are instances where it does work, but it's a rare thing. And why is it a rare thing? Well, it's because your opponent, who goes for the boom, 2 town center boom, sits there with 130 population, and you're sitting trying to attack that 130 population with 115 population. This will allow players who do that sort of attack to get that extra 20 population, so they're no longer having that problem of not having pop. They will have the problem of not having economy, so that's going to be an issue that they still have to overcome. But they've got the tech to help them out, get the damage done, and try and level the game where that's concerned. So hopefully that one makes some sense. I've already seen we're up to 6 minutes. This is going to be a long video. I'm sorry. Myth units, huge change. Myth units aren't seen enough in Age of Mythology, and I think it's sad. So I wanted to try and just say, you know what? I don't care if myth units are too strong. I don't care if we see a ton of myth units. I would rather see a ton of myth units. So I've said reduction of 50% versus heroes. That's a change implemented from Titans. Removed. Now myth units are going to be able to kill heroes with their full damage if they need to, if they want to. Then we've got give a bonus versus unit type. What does this mean? This means that an infantry style myth unit, think Minotaur, think Automaton, will get bonus damage versus human cavalry units. It's 50%, right? And an archer, think basically any ranged unit like Centaur, Wadjet, gets bonus versus infantry units. And then a cavalry unit, think Sphinx, think Nemean Lion, you get a bonus versus archers. Okay. So this should mean that throughout the game, even in the late game, if your opponent goes in with like, say, mass cavalry, you can go out and you can make a couple of Minotaur, and that can help you out in the late game, you know? So you can get that bonus versus the cavalry, and it's going to be able to keep those myth units usable throughout the game. All right. Now, we've got some, this is the Greek overall changes. We're going into it. All right, so Greek, Katoskopos. 2 hack damage up to 5 hack damage. This is going to allow Greek to have a little bit of a power spike hitting the classical age. You're going to be able to harass. Katoskopos still only has like 70 HP, so if you do go after villagers with this one, it's going to get killed really, really quickly. The Katoskopos is actually quite high in pierce armor, so I'm more imagining that this unit is going to be less of a try and kill off some villagers and more of a, you know, if your opponent opens up with some archers, you can get in there and you can tank that, get that extra damage off and actually be useful in a fight if you want to use it. Alternatively, you can just leave it there to harass a town center. Getting 5 damage a second onto a town center to deny that one or slow that one down is a lot more value than 2. So it's gonna be an interesting unit there for the early stages of the game. Now we've got to change to the counter units to some degree. Basically, the Hypaspis and the Peltast. Hypaspis not so much, but the Peltast, they kind of felt a little bit underwhelming. So I've really brought their power up. And I've made it so you don't have to build a whole lot of them. You just want to build a handful of these units is the idea. Now, these might be broken. I haven't really, in all of my testing, I haven't really seen players still not using it. Oftentimes changes can take a very long time for players to realize that this is really strong. You should change this. So I don't really know yet, but we're keeping an eye on, I'm keeping an eye on this one. But basically, they're now a 3-pop unit and their stats are being pulled up. You also get track rating increase for the Peltast plus an animation reduction. Now, what does an animation reduction mean? Basically, it just means the arrows are going to come faster, but the damage per hit is going to be going down. So they still have got, where's the damage? They got 5 pierce damage. So instead of having 5 divided by, 5, I can't remember what the exact math is. I'm not going to even try. 5 pierce, that's going to be 5 damage a shot. Going to be good. All right. The Centaur have been returned to their previous state of 2-shotting villagers. So Greek mains should be happy about that one. I will be keeping a good eye on that, especially with some of the changes coming up. However, you will note that there is going to be a lot of counterplay to myth units coming in as well. So the Minotaur Gore special attack, this one, full range down to 25 hack. So instead of it one hitting a whole bunch of units doing a ton of damage, it's going to be able to, but wait, let me start again. Instead of this special being very difficult to use, very easy to just pull your unit away and cancel the animation, you see that animation of the Minotaur kind of screwing around. It's now going to do less damage, but it's going to be more consistent. So that should be a good thing there for the Minotaur to be using where that's concerned. Okay, now we've got a whole bunch of tech changes here. Now, most of these are basically just unique techs are too expensive across the board, in my opinion. Some are really, really good. Some are really, really bad. I've made the techs that tend to get delayed quite a bit. Now, you might see them getting grabbed no matter what, but they might be delayed quite a bit. I brought them down in cost such that they should be able to get grabbed really, really early instead of having to get something else or wanting to get something else first. So the unique tech should have a lot more value in them. So basically, go through it quickly. Aegis Shield, Sarissa, Spirited Charge, Phobos' Spear of Panic, Deimos' Sword of Dread, Enyo's Bow of Horror, Sunray, Thracian Horses, and Astrophy. This is a never used water tech. Have all been reduced. I think Monstrous Rage is a typo there. That one wasn't changed. Now, you also get Olympic Parentage. Heroes get 1.10 bonus versus units. So the heroes are getting a little bit of a boost there as well as the HP. So the Zeus heroes are going to be really, really strong. Lord of Horses are going to be, instead of it giving your cavalry line of sight, which I've always thought was awful, this is just going to be like basically calling on a whole bunch of Hippocon. It's quite cheap at 300 gold, 10 favor. So you can get this really, really early and then pump out 5 cavalry super fast for Poseidon. That one's going to be fun to use there for Poseidon. Vaults of Erebus here is going to be costed more, but it's going to be getting you a lot more gold per minute, up to 100 gold from 45 gold. So it's very, very good there. Now, this is where the fun begins. This is where the fun really begins because all of the unique bonuses have been changed. I'm going to do a very quick justification of this. Not that it really needs to. Obviously, the first justification is I'm trying to make the game a different game. So all of the ideas of God identity can get thrown out the window in this one. Excuse me. We're giving the gods new God identity. I can't speak today. All right. Anyways, you get what I'm saying. So Zeus here, instead of having a bonus to hoplites, gets cut out. And now he is going to be a myth unit focused god. I want to explain this first and foremost with what I don't like about bonuses in Age of Mythology and in other games. When a god or a civilization gets a bonus which says this specific unit type has more stats, I do not like this because it pigeonholes me into going for that unit. Instead of reacting to what my opponent's doing, I have to make hoplites as Zeus, right? Obviously with Zeus, I don't have to, but the point is that it feels like I have to use the hoplites in some way. Otherwise, I'm not using my Zeus's bonus. Even if my opponent is making Axeman, I still have to make hoplites. So I basically over the board here, those are going to be gone. So Temple is now going to be 25% cheaper. The myth unit upgrades are now costing no resources with the exception of favor. They still cost favor, but that could be worded better there. And now they also Zeus also gets a favor trickle. So instead of just having that 15 favor to start off the game, Zeus is going to be getting 15 favor plus basically having a villager on the temple to begin with. So Zeus is going to get favor throughout the entirety of the game. He's still got the access to the 200 favor thing. He also gets access to Arcantos in the classical age. Now, the hero design is basically done. I did say the design's already finished, but the stats wise on the heroes, I'm still very, very, very much going to be changing. So we're just going to be talking about the specials here and how they're going to work rather than explaining exactly what they do. They're all going to be two population classical age hero, so they have to fit into that framework to some degree. So he gets that Iron Here special and can boost up units as damage there. All right, Hades, bonus to the archers, gone. Now he's going to be building focused. So he gets 15% cheaper buildings. He builds buildings 20% faster, and the technologies inside of the town center, like your masons, like your fortified town centers, they're all cheaper. Now, I wish I could tell you how cheaper they are, but I have not written this one in there. I'm guessing it's 20%, but I can't 100% remember. But that should be good for Hades where that's concerned. Hades also gets access to Malagius, who gets a very short stun. It's like 2 seconds. And yes, now also Hades no longer gets the shades from dead units. Instead, you can build the shades from Hades shades from the temple here for 8 favor. Costs no resources, just 8 favor. So that one should be fun. Also looking to make this this Hades shade be a little bit stronger, but at the moment he's just going to be sitting there thinking about his life decisions. Okay, Poseidon is now going to be an economic god rather than a cavalry. He's going to get access to a market in the Classical Age. He's going to get access to caravans in the Classical Age. He's going to get access to cheaper caravans. And a very, very fun one is he gets a free storehouse. Well, not a free storehouse. He gets free storehouses, plural. So he doesn't have to pay for any of them, just like the Egyptians don't have to. He also gets access to Agamemnon, whose special ability is an ability to train units. He can train Hoplite, Toxotes, and Hippocon out of himself, just like the Pharaoh can train set animals. All right, moving on. Egyptian. Egyptian can no longer build mercenary or mercenary cavalry. Everyone rejoices. Yes. So, what's the way to help Egyptian now they no longer have mercenary cavalry? Well, they've now got a boost to gather speed. So instead of their slow gather speed from before, they've got a faster gather speed. They also, they still build slowly. So they still have the old build rate, but a faster gather speed. Now, I hear the argument that with Pharaoh empowerment, yada, 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 that's going to be a tough thing to keep up with for the Greek players and possibly other civilizations as well. We'll have to wait and see. I'm yet to see that in my gameplay, that it feels like Egyptian is busted. It might be. If it is, we have to make a change somewhere, whether that be reducing the monument empower rate or potentially reducing the gather rate a little bit. Anyways, plow now only increases by 10% because the gather rate's been increased. The plow can be back to normal. Monuments now give a flat 6 favor a minute. So you can easily, well, you get a little bit more favor playing as Egyptian. Flood of the Nile is now going to be very similar to the Hades upgrade. Now gives 100 food a minute rather than 45 food a minute. Costs a lot more resources. Feral now gives an extra 10% food to animals. Leather frame shield, Electrum bullets, going to be cheaper. Crocodopolus, instead of giving line of sight, now gives plus 20% damage. Bone bow, instead of giving archer range, chariot archer range, now gives plus 20% chariot archer damage. Slings of the Sun now gives plus 30% damage flat rather than 30% damage versus infantry, so they get more damage versus everyone. And Funeral Barge, another technology we never see researched, and maybe still never going to get see researched, down to 200 wood. Also, buildings across the board here are more expensive. So a 75 gold dock, 150 gold temple, 100 gold barracks. This dock might change down to 50 gold here. We will have to get into that, but I'll talk about that later. So just keep that in the back of your mind as we keep going through. And here's a big change that I think a lot of players are going to enjoy. Watchtowers are no longer free. This should mean that Egyptian players are going to feel a little bit less like going for a fast second town center. They're going to have to go for like a barracks into a second town center just in case, because they can get rushed by literally every god in this game. And they're going to have to actually defend themselves rather than not. And because of the boosted economy, they should be able to do that. They should be able to keep up. So it should all be working. Hathor only spawns Patsukos and Medjai. This one probably should have been up here. But anyways, Medjai now, instead of increasing your mercenary cavalry, mercenary infantry lifespan, which would do nothing, now gives you 3 mercenary cavalry and 2 mercenary infantry at your first temple. I wanted this out of the town center that you trained it at, but unfortunately it's not possible. So It's basically like a militia type thing. It gives you a big wave to defend against something. If you go for a fast heroic and you get rushed, you can buy this technology and you can get yourself out some mercenary to defend yourself against that rush. That's the idea where that's concerned. Anyways, Ra. Ra is now going to be focused on heroes. Rather than having a chariot arch cavalry boost, rather than having cheaper monuments, rather than having that priest empowerment bonus, Ra's heroes are now going to be much, much stronger. He's going to get cheaper heroes. He's going to get faster training on his heroes, the increased damage on the heroes. He's going to get the priest. He's going to have extra line of sight. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I've taken the range away from the Ra priest. So he's now basically a melee priest that deals pierce damage. It's weird. I wanted him to deal hack damage, but it's weird. That didn't quite work out in terms of the code, and it was just easier to do it this way. So Ra's priest is doing melee range damage. And there's access to Setna, who has got lifesteal. And the way lifesteal works is a percentage of the damage you deal gets healed back up. Setna doesn't do a whole lot of damage to human units, so you're not going to feel it if he's just attacking human units. But if you attack myth units, that's where the big thing is done. There's one change here missing as I'm going through this. That is also priests get a bonus damage versus myth units, a big boost on that. So Ra is going to be really, really good with those heroes. Anyways, on to Isis. Isis now no longer gets the cheaper obelisk, no longer gets the cheaper technologies, but instead gets a cheaper monument, gets a favor boost, gets special recharge reduction. Isis is going to be a myth unit focused god, a favor focused god, and also gets access to the Amanra, who has a jump ability, just like in the campaign. So yes, you can run around with like a Nubites and a Manra in your army to have a lot of jumpy dudes. Moving on, Set focus on animals, no longer has the Chariot Archer and Slinger boost. Instead, monuments now summon animals. And when you age up, each one of your monuments, as well as your temple, spawns one gazelle, or not one gazelle, but one animal of each type. As well as gets access to Kempsit, who's got a poison special that's similar to the Scorpion Man. Okay, so Norse. Norse gets a bit of a quality life thing up front with the 1.5 HP per second on the regen. Norse also gets a build rate, or Norse Gatherers. I'm not sure why this says Ors. Maybe I'm not sure. So many typos. Good to read through it. Okay, Norse build rate has been changed a little bit here. This is the Ulfsarks, I believe. So the dot builds a little bit faster and all the other good stuff. Villagers can now construct town centers at 1 speed as well. So villagers being able to construct the town center, don't forget that. That's a big, big help for Norse in the late game, as well as potential fast second town centers for Norse as well, if they so choose. Throwing Axemen train time goes from 16 train time down to 14, so they're a little bit faster. They also get a big boost versus all other infantry. So for some reason, again, in 5.0, Voobly Balance Patch 5.0, or whichever balance patch, also on EE, Throwing Axemen only get 175% bonus damage versus Hoplites and Mermillo. Versus Egyptian, for some reason, they don't get it versus Spearmen, they don't get it versus Axemen, they don't get it versus Throwing Axemen, they don't get it versus Ulfsark, they don't get it versus Huskal. So that's just been changed, removed, and now the Throwing Axemen are much better. Raiding Cavalry now going to be reduced down to 14 seconds. So Raiding Cavalry train faster. You're going to be able to see more of those coming out, which is going to be great. And Hursa also training faster. So across the board, Norse going to be getting their stuff out a bit faster. So that should help them in the throughout the game, especially when they are getting when they're losing units. Okay, Portable Ram here gets a big, big speed boost. This unit's basically useless. We very rarely see it used. I'm hoping this amount of a speed boost is going to help. It's going to get the unit going into side attacks much better. You can build up a couple of them, run them in, kill off a town center. That's the idea. Still kind of weak in terms of like HP and damage, but with the speed, it's going to feel like it is actually a portable ram getting in there. Okay, Big Sticker. Couldn't really change this one without breaking the game. Maybe I could have actually in hindsight, so I might actually look into that now. I'm thinking about it. But I'll explain why I couldn't change it, and then you'll see why I can change it when I explain what happened to Thor. But basically, my thought process was, if I change Pig Sticker, I have to boost it so much to actually increase a hunt gather rate effect. And not only that, it's like if the animations are 8 animations to get a full, on a villager, to get a full load of food, and I need to make that 7 animations is the next boost that can potentially happen. That percentage change there is like looking closer to 20% than 10%. So it's like, that would be a huge change. Anyways, we've just reduced it to food. Now, I'll explain why it's food and why that's not a nerf here. Even though food is a little bit harder to get than gold, but it'll make sense when we go through the Thor unique changes. Anyways, eyes in the forest, human speed now increased by 5%. Instead of it being a line of sight thing, and it gets very much more expensive, 200 gold, 10 favor. This is going to be a really, really big upgrade for Loki. Hall of Thanes, now instead of it being plus 1.1, it's now giving 40% move speed. So those Hall of Thanes Hersa are going to be able to book it around the map. They're going to feel very, very fast, though for Thor, and also for Loki, again, we'll get into that when we get to the things. Keep that in the back of your mind. Next one, Ring Giver, going to be cheaper. Instead of it affecting Jarls by 25%, it affects Cavalry by 20%. So that's a big change there. That's going to help out Njord a bit, I'd like to hope. Winter Harvest and basically Skadi in general has had a nerf across the board. Winter Harvest, now instead of it being plus 20% on farms, it's now plus 10% on farms. Huntress Axe, now instead of it being plus 20% on Throw and Axeman, it's now plus 10% and it's cheaper. And we see Arctic Gale, a technology that never gets researched, is now 100 wood, so really, really cheap. Okay, Balder spawns 5 Rag Heroes and a Fire Giant on Age Up, and the Ragnarok God Power now places a Well of Erd, which automatically places 5 Heroes of Ragnarok every 60 seconds. So basically across the board, with the exception of a couple of Skadi nerfs, quote unquote, well, they are nerfs, with the exception of some Skadi nerfs there, Norse has been boosted. So to compensate and to allow for those boosts, Ragnarok needs to be changed or nerfed. And I didn't want Ragnarok to be like a god power that you click and then you auto lose. I wanted Ragnarok to be a god power that allows Norse players to have a late game focused god power that says, yes, you can play the late game too. So Balder is now going to get a Ragnarok. It spawns 5 Heroes of Ragnarok every 60 seconds, and you get 5 Rag Heroes when you spawn, when you age up through Balder. So it's like an instant boost, and you're going to get those Rag Heroes for the rest of the game from that Well of Erd. I know that some people hate that and some people like it, but can't please everyone. Okay, now the fun changes here. Thor is going to be focused on dwarfs. No longer gets a cheaper dwarven armory or cheaper dwarven armory techs. Instead, you get a boost, quote unquote, of no villagers allowed anymore. Only dwarves. So Thor dwarves now have the same gather rate as gatherers. Dwarves get armory upgrades, and dwarves cost food and gold. They cost 25 food and 30 gold. So remember back to the pig sticker change, only being able to build dwarves means that pig sticker was a little bit challenging to buy. So now you have a little bit easier time buying that one, with the dwarves only costing, or your villagers only costing 25 gold. So that should be good for them. They also get access to Eitri and Brock, who can mine, who can gather resources, and shoot arrows. They also have, like, I think it's 100% accuracy, so they don't miss when they shoot. They might miss if the unit is quite fast. They might have 5 track rating or 6 track rating. I can't 100% remember, but they're basically a similar thing to the Immortal. Nonetheless, very, very good for Thor. Going to be able to defend against those myth units from other civs with those 2 heroes nicely. They're also not. They don't have like a special ability. Their special ability is they can gather resources. Okay, so Odin no longer gets the hunt bonus. No longer gets the map hacks with the ravens. Instead, now the bonus which Odin gets on hill fort units is extended onto the longhouse as well. So now he gets a 10% boost on HP on his longhouse, as well as a 10% boost to damage from his longhouse. So that is going to be a big one for him. Plus, he gets access to Regenleaf with the Centaur special. So that first arrow is always going to hurt, deal damage, and be felt. So Regenleaf there, Odin gets his ranged hero. So both of the Norse gods get in the ranged hero. Now Loki, next one here. Loki misses out a little bit on this, unfortunately. So he's no longer going to have the Herso bonus. He's no longer going to have the myth unit spawn bonus. I thought about this one for probably 15 to 20 minutes about how I could make Loki more of a myth unit centric god. And in the end, I thought, you know what? Screw it. Let's make Loki more of a military focus. Take away the Herso, take away the myth unit. He's a busted god because of those things. And I don't like the fact that he's pigeonholed into making Herso, just like I don't like Hoplites being the boost or Toxotes being the boost or Hippocon being the boost, right? So he is now going to have all military techs are going to be cheaper. All military techs are going to be available in the archaic age, though you can't get them until the classical age, but they're all going to be in the, you're going to be able to get up to champion in the classical age. And all armor upgrades are available in the archaic age plus extra line. That one is not in there. Ignore that one. That one is not in there at all. Loki does not get that. I need to remove that. Okay. Plus, he gets access to King Volstagg, who has got a frost ability, going to be able to kill off any pesky myth units if they're raiding him. He can use that Volstagg to do that. It does have a long cooldown on this one. This one is most likely going to be changed and boosted, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, now, finally, Atlantean. We're getting close to the end, guys. It's only been 31 minutes. This is a long video. All right, Addy villages no longer cost 3 population, instead cost 2 population. It's kind of crazy that that Atlantean's citizens are a third the economy of everyone else. I don't feel like there's any reason for it. There's a villager, that's 1 pop, and there's a donkey, that's 1 pop. It should be only 2 pop. But for some reason, ensemble studios are like, you know what's better than a 2 pop economic unit? A 3 pop economic unit. So we've changed that. And that's going to give Atlantean a little bit more flexibility with the economy, a little bit more ability to defend themselves with walls and with side builds and all the other good stuff, as well as meaning that they're going to be more open for getting raided. They're going to be able to do a lot of different things. It's going to be really, really interesting to see exactly how this all works. They also get the hero citizens going to be a little bit cheaper. They also get 40. They get 40 citizens that they can train. So they go up to a total of 80 in terms of their population in economy, plus the 10 pop you get extra on the hero citizens. So you can actually got quite a bit above that pop cap if you want to build hero citizens. Nonetheless, all of the gather rates are adjusted to make up for that 2 pop, and all the build rates have been adjusted as well. Farms also been adjusted to 130 wood. Now, here are some big changes to the army of Atlantean. One thing that I've always found is super boring to some degree, but just like not good design with Atlantean in the slightest, is that post classical age, the counter barracks never gets used again. I wanted to really work hard on making sure that counter barracks is used for the entirety of the game. So I've changed the way the military works pretty drastically here. Arcus, now available in the classical age from the military barracks. Arcus have got 14 range, though they get 2 range for every line upgrade, so they actually start with 16 range, and then when they get champion, that's 20 range. So back to the standard unit, and they get to champion. The Karo Ballista is now in the palace and is available in the mythic age. This is going to be a ranged siege weapon for the Atlanteans. It's actually very, very strong, and I am potentially going to be nerfing this on the numbers if it feels like Atlantean is doing too well in the mythic age. The Fire Siphon is now a heroic age siege weapon with very low range. It's got more, I think it's got more speed or more HP than its siege tower with less damage, so it should live a little bit longer. So it has that little bit of a difference, but it's basically a melee siege weapon, just like the portable ram, just like the siege tower, and just like the Heliopolis. Engineers no longer gives Fire Siphons range, obviously. That makes sense because it's no longer a ranged unit. Okay, Terma bonus here. This is the big one. This is the one to pay attention to because this is going to be tough. Terma bonus now, damage is now 100% versus infantry and 200% versus archers. If your opponent is making cavalry, you don't want to build Terma. Catapultes, bonus damage is now 2.75 or 175%, and 100% versus infantry and cavalry. So if your opponent is making archers, you don't want to build catapulties. Destroyer's bonus damage is now versus cavalry and archers with a bonus of... this isn't quite right. This should be 1.5 or 50% versus cavalry and 175% versus archers, I think. I might have to double check that one. Let me know in the comments. Ask me in the comments if you actually care. Okay, Kyrie Ballister no longer receives with the I before E except after C. The rules apply. Kyrie Ballister no longer receives bonus damage from burning pitch. Receives 50% bonus damage to buildings from burning pitch. That does not make sense there. So burning pitch gives extra damage, extra flat damage, but never gave bonus damage versus buildings. Now it gets 50% bonus damage versus buildings. So it's actually doing a lot of damage once you get that burning pitch. All right. So now we can talk about the upgrades. Focus now makes Oracle Heroes trainable in your temple. Safe Passage. Now, instead of it giving a cost reduction, it gives a building point reduction, which makes the building build faster. Heart of the Titans now goes from 20 favor down to 10 favor. Bite of the Shark now goes from 200 food over to 200 wood. Weightless Mace, 200 food to 200 wood. Going to be a lot easier to buy those if you want to go through Oceanus, though I do expect Oceanus to still be a dead god. There's just nothing I can do. If I don't know how to rework that Galadriel. It needs to deal damage of some sort, and I just don't. There's just no way to. I don't know what to do. I could make it a ranged unit, I think, making it shoot arrows, but there's no animation, so it just looks weird. So I just gave up on it. Heroic Renewal. Reduction in favor, Horns of Consecration in the temple, Rhea's Gift. Now gives you a trickle of food, wood, and gold. So it's 150 resources a minute, but it costs some more favor. Poseidon Seeker is now cheaper. Celerity, instead of it being myth unit train time decrease, it's now myth units are 20% cheaper. So a big one for the Mythic Age there for Atlantean players. Io Guardian now gives 20% movement speed instead of line of sight for the Argus there. I have Atlas is now going to be, instead of it just being myth unit line of sight, it's now all unit line of sight. And now the big changes. Kronos is a myth unit focused god now. No longer gets time shift, no longer gets its siege bonus. Instead, it gets a temple for free. It gets temple healing and gets a favor trickle boost. So these plus it's already got its own Kronos' like standard myth unit boosts there. So should be good to make some myth units. Should be very, very easy. Plus you can heal them back up and build those temples anywhere on the map for healing all over the place. I'm really interested to see how that's going to work, if it's going to be busted or if it's going to be not busted. I'm not sure. Anyways, he also gets access to Gargarensis, who's got a bash ability. I want to give him his throwback so badly, and I think I will be giving his throwback. I wanted to give him it back, but have it not kill a unit, and I couldn't work out the code. And then I thought, you know what? What I can do is make Gargarensis only be able to throw certain units. So I'm going to make it so that only like the 2-pop units can be thrown, 3-pop, or maybe even 3-pop units. Anything above 3-pop won't be able to be thrown, and it should be able to be done like that. And he's going to get that back, plus with a range increase, meaning he's not going to be sitting there going, I can't throw, I can't throw, I can't. Oh, I got it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Anyways, onwards and upwards. Uranus now only has access to 2 Sky Passages, but they're free. I like this one because Sky Passages very rarely get built, and they're very, very strong. And when they do get built and they are successful, they are oppressive. So I want them to use this Sky Passage, but I don't want them to be able to literally go everywhere on the map. Just 2 different places at once seems like a really, really good trade-off there for the Sky Passages being free. Plus, gets access to Castor, the Castor adult, who also had the bash from the campaign. No changes to Uranus in terms of the speed. That's already a great boost for Uranus. It's fun. It's good. No point in really changing it. Okay, so now Gaia, big ones here. I've always been a proponent that I hate Gaia Lush. I also am not a big fan of Gaia having cheaper economic upgrades. I don't think this has been, I never thought this was a well thought through god, and the only reason that it's fine is because she's kind of rubbish against a lot of stuff, right? If you were to boost the economic upgrades or focus Gaia in even harder on the economic upgrades, she's still going to suck in the situations where she sucks in, and she's going to be even better in the situations she's good in. So instead of doing that, we're now giving her some more fun changes. So she gets an economic guild. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Economic guilds spawn heroes on research completion. So these are your tier 2 upgrades and tier 3 upgrades. Give you a Mamilo hero, an Arcus hero, a Terma hero, a Catapulta hero, a Destroyer hero, a Contarius hero, and a Fanatic hero. So that'll be fun. That'll be good. You also can build mirror towers. They are quite expensive, but they are very, very strong. And you can build those in the classical age. And you get a free hero citizen on age up. So that's going to be boosting your economy there anyways. More so. But you have to remember that there are only like 2 population citizens, so it's not as good as a 3 population one, but still a good boost there. Plus, she gets access to Cersei, who's got a lightning special and a melee attack. So she's got a range attack and then has to wait 20 seconds to use it again, or she can get into the battle and start bashing away. All right, now, these are the final changes to go through is the Navy changes. I've always been, I've basically been a proponent? No, I've been pushing a Navy change for Voobly Balance Patch for, I think, about 2 years now. Actually, since Voobly Balance Patch 5.0 came out, I was like, we should make the ships available in the classical age. It just doesn't make sense that they're not. And I was vetoed back then, and now I have the keys to the kingdom of my own patch. I'm going to say, you know what? Let's do it. And not only are we going to do it, we're going to make it even more exciting. So docks are now 50% cheaper. They now build 50% faster, and they deal 50% less damage. They only shoot 1 arrow. They have half the HP. They have less track rating, and all ships are available in the classical age. So the archer ship's track rating is now also down to 5. So you can dodge archer ships if you move the boat back and forth that's being targeted. You don't have to pull it back to dodge arrows, which should mean there's not going to be any of that awkward trying to pull a ship back away, but just bumping into a whole bunch of other ships. So the best players are going to be able to like move that ship into a position and start patrolling it or like quick microing Greeks now. The way that the Navy works is these are all the flat bonuses. This isn't a boost or a change. This is just what these guys get. So Greek, we already know, gets +2 range. Egyptian gets, instead of getting a bonus damage versus fishing ships, which is a useless boost there, now gets bonus HP and a reduction in speed. So now Egyptian's got, instead of 6 speed, has 5.5 speed. The Norse has got an extra DPS, but has 5.5 speed. The Atlantean ship is no longer 20% cheaper, 20% less stats, 7.5 for speed. Now has the same cost as everyone else, has 6.5 speed, so faster, and has less HP. Now we're taking a look at that one and seeing if that's actually too much of a nerf. Maybe it can keep more speed there. I'm not 100% sure. All right, hammer ship here, snares enabled. I think that's already enabled on the hammer ship. I don't know why I wrote that in, but bonus damage versus ballista ships, 75%. I don't know if I said this here, but bonus damage on hammer ships here from the archer thing is 75%. Bonus ballista ship, 75%. And finally, and the Pentaconda is +2 range, so it can attack a little bit further away. Ramming Galley is 10% HP. Drakgar is 15% pierce vulnerability. Reduction, so a little bit better or at staying alive versus the archer ship. And the fire ship has had a lot of changes to it, basically. I can't exactly remember what the fire ship was, but it was useless before. Now it's not useless. Okay, ballista ship, range 20, bonus damage versus archer ship is 75%, 300 HP across the board. So they all have 300 HP. They've all got 5 track ratings, so they're going to be hitting the units running back and forth for the most part, unless they are faster than 5 speed. And again, Egyptian with Greek with +2 range, Egyptian with 10% HP, Norse with +1 crush, and Addy with a little bit of a reduction in gold, it seems, plus having hack armor and hack attack, crush attack reduction by 10% plus some speed. Not exactly sure what that was, but anyways, cladding and all the Mythic Age technologies for the ships are now also much more effective. So getting these upgrades is going to be a big assistance for your boats. That's the patch. 44 minutes and 30 seconds into it. If you guys are still here, thanks for listening. Have a go on the patch. I'll be posting that link for the if it's not there already, I'll be posting that link for the Steam Workshop for an extended edition as well. And I'll see you guys in the next game.